Please enjoy this message from David Arquette sent in by the fabulous Carrie Tenney.
Hey Ryan, how are you? Thanks for doing the Scream podcast.
Like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
You are listening to Scream with Ryan C. Showers, the podcast for Scream fans just like you. Join Ryan every week as he takes a deep dive into the horror film series that defined the 90s and redefined the genre. Scream with Ryan C. Showers is your source for scene and quote analysis, character dissections, and the latest news about upcoming installments of the Scary Movie franchise.
I hear you like horror movies, Kirby, but do you like them as much as him?
All right, everybody, welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers. This is the podcast where the film critic meets the fan in terms of how we approach Scream analysis and how we talk about our favorite movie and the types of ways that we can think about Scream in very smart, critical ways. So I am joined here by my friend Ashley. Hey, Ash.
Hello, hello, hello.
She is the creative producer and manager of Scream with Ryan C. Showers. She is a new member of the team, one of my dearest friends. She's been on many episodes. She's contributed to many episodes, but she's amazing. So Ash, tell everybody where they can find you and your store.
So you can find me on Instagram at squirrelandspud9. My store is linked in my bio there, and you can see all of the weird Taylor Swift, Scream, Buffy memes that I make over there, as well as all of my pop culture merch.
Awesome. So, all right. I also need to thank my editor and technical producer, Albert Padilla. I need to thank my photo editor, who is, I'm calling him the graphic design producer of Scream with Ryan C. Showers, TJ Jones. Thank you so much. And I need to thank everybody over at Patreon. They include my Mama Ghostface and Daddy Ghostfaces. They are Brett Janovich, Carrie Tenney, Corey Wilson, and Stevie Shears. I need to thank my stab investors, who are Allie, Tamika Jones, Chris Beatty, David D, Garrison Nichols, Gustavo Mora, Jess Mariano, Joey Noberini, aka The Vault, Josh Calamari, Josh Carr, Scream Queens podcast, both Josh and Justine, Kevin Abner, Mark Vieira, PWO5, Quentin Harrison, Roy Garza, Sam Levy, and Mark Harim, aka Michelle Visage. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for enduring all of that. So we are going to be doing a little Taylor Swift song for you today. This is actually one of my top 10 favorite songs. And as you know, if you clicked on the episode and you started listening, you saw the title. It is Ranking Gale Weathers. So last week we did Ranking Sidney Prescott. This week we are ranking Gale Weathers. And this is like Courtney's performances, her acting, the direction by Wes, the writing, the character arc, however you can see Gale Weathers, we are ranking the 6 movies for her in this episode. So like Sydney last week, we did a recording about which Taylor Swift song most represents Sidney Prescott. And we are doing this similarly with Gale Weathers this week, and next week we'll be doing Riley. So Ashley, what song is picked for Gale Weathers?
There's no other song we could have picked, but the song we have picked is The Man. The Man is track 4 off of the album Lover, which was released in 2019. It's produced and written by Taylor Swift and Joel Little. The song is really about the patriarchy and how Taylor feels being a woman in the world, a business, love, criticism, while dealing with those feelings. There's a lot of anger, but it's like disguised as like almost like sarcasm. But there's also like a lot of joy and humor in the song. It's a really good way to get a message out without somebody getting mad at you for it, if that makes sense, which she should be getting. She did it in a way where it would be harder for people to criticize her for what she's trying to say.
Well, and it has a very catchy tune, and that's kind of like why that's the brilliance behind the song, right? Is because it's such a catchy thing that gets in your head and stays there, and the message that's within that beat, right? It is, it's very powerful. I use the word sarcastic, and I think that's a good way to put it. I would say very logical. Like she presents very logical comparisons between men and women, and how men are, the behavior of men is accepted in a way that the behavior of women is not, and how women are judged by society in a way that men are not. And it is, it's such a fun song. I think it was perfect for the time it was released, and it's one of my favorite songs. Like I listen to it every week, and it puts me in a good mood. And it's a very powerful song. Like it is the badass feminist anthem that of Taylor Swift's discography, in my opinion. And also, like, it's the thing and how it relates to Gale is that, in my opinion, it really describes Gale's ambition. Like Gale is that she is such a powerful, accomplished person, and it kind of relates to how the characters in Scream talk about Gale. You know, Gale from Scream 1 and 2, really especially, she was coined as the bitch. She was coined as like an antagonist. She was coined as like a bad person, or she was a morally impure person because of the way that she pursued her career. And again, I feel like, you know, Gale Weathers has never stood on a milk carton and had a protest about feminism directly, right? But through her actions and through her perseverance, and the way that she pushes through everyone's criticism of her and who she is as a person and continues on with her career, I think that she shows the message of the song without having to say it. I love that. Everything that Taylor says, like it could be applied to Gale Weathers, even like down to like the details. Like, you know, there's a part of the song where Taylor's talking about how women aren't afforded the same luxuries of like sexual indiscretions, right? And she talks about Leonardo DiCaprio and like dating with different ages, and like it kind of relates to Scream 6. Like Gale was the man, right? With, you know, she started, you know, dating Brooks, a younger, hot, muscly guy, and we don't know anything about him, you know. But if the roles were reversed, do you think that audiences would be like, wait, but we never got to meet Dewey's girlfriend, you know? But when after Scream 6, everybody was saying we know nothing about Gale's boyfriend, and I agree with that to an extent, but still, that's the point, right? Is that Gale acts in a way that is counter to these boxes that society puts women in terms of like being a polite, good little girl. Ash?
Yeah, I think this song is like a song that when I listen to it, I either feel like really powerful or like I feel like I'm going to start crying. It's a song that like when I see little girls singing in a car with their mom or dad, it makes me feel so happy for them that they have somebody who's saying all these things. And one of like the things that I immediately thought is I don't know if anybody would have questioned Gale, like the motives of a character like Gale, if Gale was a man. Like, I don't know if was it worth it, Gale Weathers? Or if that question would have ever been asked if Gale was a man? Because I don't think anybody would care about a man telling his story.
Yeah. Or finding the story in using whatever he had to. They would say, oh, wow, that guy, he's so good at his job. He's so dedicated to his job because he had this idea that Cotton Weary was innocent and he stood up for him. But Gale Weathers is a bitch who was mean to this little girl, you know?
Yeah. And the thing that I also love about Gale and this song so much is that it really is about, the empowerment within, but also like I love how Gale is. Her and Sydney could be like polar opposites, and they don't necessarily like each other that much at the beginning of their story, but they will fight tooth and nail for each other. And I can tell you this: there could be a girl on the dance floor at a club who, I don't know, maybe something happens and I'm just like, she's annoying me. But if I see some dude being mean to her or anybody hurting her, there's no way that I'm not going to go Gale Weathers or Sydney Prescott, whoever, on that person and say, leave this girl alone. And I just feel like it's one of the things that I love about this song was when I saw a bunch of men critiquing it and they'd say, what does Taylor Swift have to complain about? And I literally just commented to this old man being like, you realize you have just proven her point.
Exactly. And it's not about Taylor Swift. It's about all women. It's about the whole. It's about the system. It's not about Taylor Swift complaining about her grievances, man. So you don't get it.
Yes, I was just like, she's writing for more than just herself, but as a woman, no matter how powerful she is or what she's experienced or how rich she is, she still is being criticized because she's a woman in certain ways that if she was a man, like writing love songs. Why does she only write about love songs? Like, she doesn't, and she just did. And you're talking about love songs while she's singing about how she's being criticized for only writing love songs in a song that's not about a love song.
Well, and so the Man has a music video, and Taylor Swift directed it. It's very funny. It's very pointed commentary. It's brilliant in terms of the way it approaches feminism. Taylor Swift stars in the music video, and she's directing it too. But she's dressed in prosthetics as a man. I did not know I did not know that was Taylor when I kept waiting for Taylor to show up. I was like, okay, this is cute. Who they hired a guy. It looks like, whatever. Did you know it was her?
Yes.
Okay. See, Ash is a better Taylor Swift fan.
That's not, man. Like, I was just,
that's our girl.
I mean, just because I think I just recognized her. But one of my favorite things is if you watch the behind the scenes of that, she'll be really intensely doing this intense what we would call bro stuff, just moving her shoulders in a way, or putting her legs open, just taking up space. That's something that I think a lot of men don't realize, that physically taking up space, a lot of girls feel uncomfortable physically moving in the world. And I mean literally navigating through a stream of people, because I don't know how to explain it, but physically taking up space. And she's doing it, and then she immediately will be she'll be hey, and be hitting on this girl in the music video, and then immediately cut to Taylor mode. She's like, was that good? Did I spank her ass hard enough? Or did I do this right? And it's just so perfect. And I don't believe that Gale Weathers worries about taking up space.
Absolutely not. And I love so many lyrics in this, but it is really the whole song is really wonderful in terms of describing the difference between how men are perceived and what men get away with, and how women are held accountable to unfair standards. But I will say, so my favorite two lines, and it's very early on in the song, is she'll be a fearless leader. She says, I'll be a fearless leader. I'll be an alpha type. That is Gale Weathers. Gale Weathers is a fearless leader and an alpha type. And I love that. So, and I just think that the song, it captures the essence of Gale Weathers. It captures her energy. It captures, the beat of the song, the rhythm, in addition to the lyrics and what the song is trying to say. It is just completely Gale Weathers through and through. So,
yeah. And also, I'm so sick of running as fast as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Literally Gale's life. She's these stupid ghost face. Can you just leave me alone?
But also that is her, saying, I feel bad, Dewey. I feel really bad. I'm so sick of this, Yeah. So it's so good. Anyways, so, all right, Ash, thank you so much for this little Taylor Swift introduction. Hey, everybody. Just wanted to remind you that next month, a huge shakeup is coming to the podcast. Instead of offering one of the episodes on Tuesday every month as bonus Patreon content, there will be 4 episodes of Scream with Ryan C. Showers released to the public as normal. However, in addition, the new bonus content for the Patreon subscribers of Scream with Ryan C. Showers will be audio commentaries. Now, I'm going to release this on probably the second or third Thursday of every month. It will be just me, giving an audio commentary as I watch a movie that's related to Scream or the Scream movies themselves. So imagine you're sitting down to watch a filmmaker's commentary with that type of intellect and smart analysis about the movies that you're watching. That is kind of what the energy I want to bring to the audio commentaries. And I'm going to have a team helping me with research. It's going to be a really cool thing. So the idea would be to press play on the audio commentary of me, of the podcast, while pressing play on the TV screen with the movie. But also, I'm trying to design them so that you can listen to them in the car without having to watch the movie, that it would still be compelling and captivating, and you'll be able to follow what I'm saying, even if the movie isn't playing in front of you. So this is a cool thing to be doing for the podcast. I love the idea of revamping the podcast and doing something different. The first audio commentary is going to be for The Craft. That's going to be released on April 17th. Then in May, it will be Final Destination. Then Scary Movie, which is so much fun. I can't wait for that one. Then we're going to do in the summer, Halloween H2O. I Know What You Did Last Summer. The original Halloween. Then after we build up to it, we will release audio commentaries for Scream 1, 2, and 3 before Scream 7, then 4, 5, and 6 after Scream 7, and then we'll continue on with Scream-adjacent movies like The Faculty, Urban Legend, other franchise horror movies like A Nightmare on Elm Street, and yada yada. And so, yeah, it'll be very fun. I'm really excited for it. And please subscribe to the Patreon to support me, to support the commentaries, to support my team that is newly assembled and doing a great job helping me keep the podcast thriving. So in order to get the commentaries, all you have to do is subscribe to the lowest tier. But if you would like to participate in the podcast in a deeper way within the community coming on the show, please subscribe at the higher tiers. So, but again, April 17th, be there or be square. I'm so excited about the audio commentaries, and I hope everybody enjoys them. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers, and joining me, I have my friend Jude. Hey, Jude.
Hi, Ryan. How are you?
Oh my God, so good. So, Jude, how do you pronounce your last name?
Actually, it's Jarjura. I know it's hard to pronounce. Jarjura. Can you do it?
Okay, Jude Jarjura. Did I get it right?
Yeah. Yes,
okay.
You're wrong.
So everybody, so if you follow my social media, you've definitely seen Jude's posts because first of all, Jude makes some amazing posts, and he often has some really cool intel coming from the studio or coming from some sources, or even has like some cool photos, rare photos of Courtney and Nev and even Hayden that come up online that he posts, and I always happily retweet. And he's such a cool friend of mine. I really enjoy Jude as a person in the Scream community, and just as a Scream fan for his philosophy. Like, first of all, you have a great attitude about being a Scream fan, but also I enjoy your perspective on things. So welcome, Jude.
Thank you. You have no idea how excited I am to be here. Actually, it's a dream come true for me. When I first joined the Scream Twitter back in 22, when I had 0 followers, actually, you were my first account that I followed on Twitter. So
no way.
Yeah. Yes. Speaking of goal and manifestation, I manifested this like this.
Well, what a full circle moment. Because I remember you. I remember your name going back years ago. Like, I don't know whenever I first would have recognized it, but from Facebook or Instagram. But I definitely have known who you are for a long time, and I feel like really became friends. I mean, we've always like interacted, sure, but like I feel like we really became friends over the past year or so in the lead up to Scream 7, which is very
yes. Actually, Scream 7 brought us together. I remember the first time ever I reached out to you. It was after you released the Scream 7 episode. I can't remember the name of the guy who wrote the script. He's brilliant, by the way.
Joey.
Hi, Joey. He did an amazing job. And back then, it was like in June 2023. And I remember, I swear, I remember saying something like, what if this Scream 7 is the Scream 7 we get? And here we are. It's like, It was a dream for me. I remember me and you, both of us tweeting like years ago. We were wishing that Sydney and Gale would be co-leads with Sam and Tara. And look where we are, Sydney and Gale back in the spotlight. What a dream. What a good time to be a Scream fan.
I know. And I love your optimism and the energy that you've brought to the Patreon and to me. Like, to be honest, like sometimes, like, I am not invincible as a Scream person. Like, it's pretty sometimes I do get down, and you're one of the people, whenever I see you make a post or like a post of encouragement about Scream 7, it always makes me perk up. So I love you a lot, Jude. So thanks for stopping by.
And me too.
So, listener, Jude and I have a very cool task today for the topic of the podcast. Jude is a huge huge Gale Weathers fan, and I am doing this. So, if a listener, if you're only listening via audio, head on over to Patreon. You'll see me and Jude here, who is very handsome, by the way. He's holding a copy of The Woodsboro Murders by Gale Weathers. We are repping the Queen. So, we are going to be doing an official ranking of the Gale Weathers performances, appearances, characterizations, character arcs, however you want to describe it. We are ranking Gale Weathers / Courteney Cox in the Scream movies today, and I think that this is I'm constantly ranking stuff, and I've ranked Gale a million times in my head on Twitter, but never properly like this on an episode that's dedicated to just this. So that's what Jude and I are going to be doing today. So it's gonna be very fun. But before we get there, Jude, why don't you share with everybody what your Scream story is, what Scream means to you, what's been the journey of Scream and Jude?
Okay, so it's going to be a long story, but it's a very traumatic story. So it all goes back to when I was like 4 years old. And I had my cousins who had these cheap ghost face plastic masks with this hard pump that pumps blood all over the mask. So I was a chicken growing up and I hated scary movies. So I remember like we go to visit them and they have the mask already behind the door and they would pop out of the closet to scare me. So we didn't call it Ghostface at the time. It was just Scream. And I remember I was traumatized by the name Scream. Like I hate Scream. And fast forward many years later, I was 18. Growing up, I loved Friends. I'm upset. I have this Friends poster here and Monica is my favorite character and Courtney as an actress. So I remember Scream 5 was, in production or in pre-production, and they announced that Courtney's back. So I had a good friend of mine. His name is Noor. He's a big fan of yours, by the way. Hi, Noor, because he's going to listen to the episode. So I remember we were chatting and stuff, and he told me, oh, you know what? You love Friends. You love Courtney. I'm obsessed with this horror movie franchise. It's called Scream. And I was like, no, thank you. I hate scary movies. I don't love Scream. It's not my cup of tea and I'm not going to watch it. So I remember him sending me, the paparazzi pictures of Courtney wearing the iconic red suit. And I was like, oh my God, okay, why is she wearing red? Like, so not Monica. And then he sent me the Scream trailer, the Scream 5. And I was like, who are these people? And I know David Arquette, he is Courtney's husband, ex at this point. And I was familiar with him and he went like, you know what? Let's try and watch the first Scream movie together. You're going to love it. And I was like, no, I won't. And we watched it together and I couldn't get past that opening scene. I was traumatized and I was scared. It scared the hell out of me. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to watch it. He said, at least wait and see Courtney. So I remember I saw Courtney in the lime suit and I was obsessed with her. And I didn't continue the movie, actually. I didn't watch it. I hated the movie. I was so scared of that Drew Barrymore scene. And a few months later, I was like, Scream 5 is going to come out. And I want to see it in theaters. So I have to watch all the 4 movies. So I sat down, I brought my father with me and I was like, Dad, I want to see a scary movie and I'm scared to see it by myself. Can you watch it with me? And we watched the 4 Scream movies back to back in one night. It's like one big movie and the rest is history.
That is interesting. And it's interesting because I know what your ranking is of the films. And as films, not necessarily Courtney, right? We're just talking about the movies.
Yes.
So I want to comment on that and comment on your Scream story, which I love, by the way. That is such a unique Scream story. Oh my gosh, this is something I've never really heard on the podcast before. So thank you for that wonderful, unique journey you had with Scream, from being afraid of it to seeing it to catch up for Scream 5. That's so cool. But Jude, what is your Scream ranking?
Okay, so Scream ranking. Don't judge everybody. So Scream 4 is my favorite Scream movie ever. Scream 4. Then we have Scream 2. Scream 2. Then we have Scream. Actually, it changes every day. So Scream 4, 2, Scream 1, Scream 3, Scream 5. Scream 6, Scream 5. Scream 5 is my least favorite.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
so the reason why I kind of raised an eyebrow at the end of his story about watching all 4 movies as like, and he described it as one big movie, is because I use that phrase all the time when I talk about watching like the original trilogy, and like 3 is my favorite, and that's where it kind of ends. That's the climax of it. And for Jude, I guess like the climax is Scream 4, and because that's the movie he watched, and that's the Wes Craven legacy. That's the end of the Wes Craven films for Scream. So it's so cool that is your favorite. So tell me, why is Scream 4 your favorite?
Oh my God. First of all, Jill Roberts. The icon, Jill Roberts. I love the reveal, the motives, and I love the inclusion of the legacy characters.
Mm-hmm.
I love how balanced, and when you spend 3 movies building these characters, like you're with movie, you're rooting for these characters. You don't want them to go. Unfortunately, I knew that they were in 5 because I saw the trailer. I wish I didn't know. So that would have been better. So, seeing Jill stabbing Sydney, the fake out death, I would have loved if I didn't know Sydney would make it to 5. So, yeah. And I love the aesthetic, the fashion, Kirby. Kirby actually is my favorite character right after Sydney and Gale. I don't have a top 2, by the way. Sydney, Gale, top 1, and then Kirby comes top 2. So, yeah.
I love it. And so it's so cool to me, like to see the world through your eyes because of Kirby and the influence that she should have. Like, someone could look at, Scream 7. And I know that you desperately wanted Hayden to be in Scream 7. And I'm sad that she won't be. I hope that she comes back for 8. That would be the ideal at this point, unless if she does somehow show up in 7. But, I love how in your mind, in the world of Jude, in the way that you see the world, it's Sydney and Gale, and Kirby is right there underneath them. I think that almost like, Hayden is such a titanic force, a titanic actress. She deserves that. She deserves that. So, and like because she's a survivor, I would have loved to have seen Kirby in Scream 7, but it is what it is. But I love that. I love that for you, and I love Scream 4, and I'm glad that I really love Scream 4 people. So my friend Ashley, who is now the creative producer of this podcast, helping me, she is also a Scream 4 person, and in the post I made about her recently, announcing her as the producer for the show, I said, Albert and I are Scream 3 people. Albert's my editor, and Ashley is a Scream 4 person, and I can think of no better group of people to run a Scream podcast than Scream 3 and 4 people, because the Scream 3 people and Scream 4 people have been through the ringer in terms of like people shitting on them, and I think Scream 3 and 4 people, first of all, they have like I feel like there's a humility of like accepting that not everybody is going to agree with your opinions, and you're okay with that. And 2, also the confidence in your own opinions to be different and not do what everybody else is doing just because. So I love that you're a Scream 4 person. I think Scream 4 people rule. So yeah, awesome.
We do. Thank you. And Ashley, I don't know you, and I'm going to follow you. Ryan's going to give me your account. We need to obsess over Scream 4 together. I would love to hear your thoughts.
Awesome. Well, Jude, before we talk about Gale Weathers, do you want to go through my speed round questions?
Yes, let's go.
Okay. Well, this one, so we've already established your answer here, but I'm still going to ask. So Sydney, Gale, or Ty?
Ty.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm a Ty too. I mean, I don't know how you can't not be a Ty. But okay. Sam or Tara?
Sam.
Okay. Dewey or Chad?
Dewey.
Okay. I already know your answer here too, but favorite movie buff?
Kirby.
Of course. Favorite killer? Jill Roberts. Come on. I know it's Jill.
Jill. I'm going to go with Jill.
Who would your second choice be?
Billy.
Favorite opening and favorite finale?
Favorite opening is the iconic Drew Barrymore from Scream 1. Favorite finale? It is controversial, but I love the third act of Scream 4.
Okay. I mean, it's not, I actually think that, in my opinion, I think that there's a reason that if anybody picked any of the finales of the Wes Craven films, I could see a true and valid argument for any of them. They're also unique and special and magnificent. And Jill's is like the scene of her at the house, I think, is one of the top 10 scenes of the franchise. Like, it's absolutely riveting. It's Wes Craven's truly making a statement with that. So.
Yeah. And you know what I love about that? I love watching people reacting to Scream. So every time I have new friends or like new family members that are coming from overseas, I was like, let's watch Scream together. And I love the moment when Jill's reveal. Every time they gag, and I gag with them. And this scene of her self-mutilating herself, this is peak cinema, peak Wes Craven.
Not only that, but I mean, like, it's, you know what? It's so fun to watch people react to Jill, react to the outrageous, campy shit that comes out of her mouth, you know, when she's talking to Sydney, but also react to her as she's mutilating herself. Like, that shit is golden because it's just everything she does ups the ante. You know, it's not enough to stab herself in the shoulder. It's not enough to, you know, slam her face into a picture. It's not enough to go through the coffee table. So it's a very fun movie to watch with other people. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. So with all that being said, what is your favorite scene?
Can I give you my top 2 favorite scenes, please?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one, or it's a tie, Gale's chase scene in Scream 2 in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
This cat and mouse thing, and I love. Gale's ranking is, spoiler alert, the last spot is Scream 6, but I love her sequence in 6. So that would be my 2 favorite scenes ever.
Aw, well, how appropriate for this episode to say that your 2 favorite scenes are the 2 epic Courteney Cox scenes. So I love that. Okay, favorite kill or death?
Embers.
Well, there you go. Another iconic moment for Gale Weathers, setting the bitch on fire who killed Dewey. So justice.
Oh, but that she was the one who did the final blow, not Tara. But it is what it is.
I agree. You know, the Tara thing. It's fantasy. It's fan fiction. We're not even going there. Gale killed Amber.
Not in my movie.
Not in my movie. So, all right. Overall, any supporting character in the franchise that's not the trio or the sisters that you want to give a special shout out to?
Derby.
Okay. And last question. What is your favorite thing about Scream?
The characters.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay, I have another question for you, just because. So sometimes I ask this, sometimes I don't. But so, you know, you and I have had so many ups and downs. Not ups and downs. I feel like it's just been all ups for us as friends. But we've been through, I feel like, a lot together. So my question to you is: do you have a favorite memory with me or with the podcast that you haven't mentioned already?
Yeah.
What's that?
Actually, you don't know it yet, so it's the first time I'm gonna say it. So. Okay. I have this journal that I do or I write in, and I've been following your channel for like I listen to everything on Spotify since 2022 basically. So I wish I'm gonna send you the picture. I wrote something because I believe in manifesting and the law of attraction and stuff. I wrote something back in August 2022. I said I'm gonna be on Ryan Shower's podcast. And we're going to talk about Neve Campbell's return to the Scream franchise.
And here we are. Well, so, you know, before we talk about Gale, you know, let's talk about Neve and Scream 7. Is there anything you would like to say about Scream 7? I mean, you have done a lot of manifesting, in my opinion, and it's fun because it sounds like, you know, based on what we're getting, you know, a lot of what you and I want from Scream 7 is actually happening. And all of your tweets, all of my tweets have manifested something. It's funny, like my friend Joey, the writer, he after I sent him the screenshot of Scott Foley coming back, and he said, wow, it's like they're making this movie for you. You're getting everything that you want. And I'm like, damn right, bitch. But Jude, what anything you want to share about Scream 7?
Yeah, first of all, I'm so glad and so grateful that we're finally going back to basics, basically. We're going back to roots. And I've said it before and I'll say it till the end of my days. If you're going to bring Neve Campbell and Courteney Cox back to a Scream movie, you either bring them back at as the focus or just simply not bring them back. It's as simple as that. If you wanna have Sidney Prescott and Gale Weathers in a Scream movie, don't give us a glorified cameo and like trick us. And you know, this is a OG3 focused movie. This is my main issue with Scream 5, by the way. They marketed the movie as a Sidney Gale Dewey movie, and look what we got. I went to theaters, and right after the title cards, I was expecting Sidney. I love Melissa, but where is Sidney? Imagine in a Scream movie, we see the first glance of Sidney 40 minutes in, but no, I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, like, my issues, and we'll get into this because now we're transitioning to the Gale talk, is like, I'm okay with 5 because I understand what they were trying to do. But my beef is 6 because, in my opinion, Gale is so good in Scream 5. And then to demote her in the way that it feels so disrespectful in Scream 6. And maybe it's just different in Scream 5 for me because she gets to be a part of the finale and she gets to be a real active part of the story in a different way, and it's a very emotional performance, whereas in Scream 6 it's like she's only allowed to be in 30 minutes of the movie, like the middle parts, like she's not allowed at the beginning or at the end. It just feels so cheap, and I feel like everything that you just described is worse in Scream 6, even though in Scream 5 technically it's more pronounced. I don't know.
Yeah. You know what? If you ask the filmmakers or the team behind 6, they would tell you, or even if you watch the behind the scenes stuff, they would say in Scream 6, we gave Gale her moment. She got her phone call. She got chased and this and that. It's not one scene. It's not enough to make a good character for a whole movie. I'm sorry. Her scene was phenomenal. And you saw me ranking it as my, a tie with Scream 2 as a very good scene. But one scene isn't enough. I mean, come on. You learn off screen. I get so mad. You learn off screen that you survived. Come on. First of all, we didn't see her reaction to Ghostface's back. Come on, we were in New York. You established in 5 that she had her morning show. We don't see her. We don't see her career. We don't see her at her element in New York in her studio. What her workplace looks like. What's interesting, and they have like 3-4 movies worth of material to do with, is explore Gale in her workplace with her producers, her audience. I mean, I wish I can see like Gale Weathers with paparazzi all around her taking pictures. And there's so many missed opportunities in 6 and so many good things that they didn't do. And I'm so mad about that.
It's almost like, why even have it set in New York if you're not going to utilize Gale? It just feels like, that they did this so that Gale could be a real part of the movie. And then where is she? It's such a stupid decision. So let's get into so how this is going to go is we're each going to give our ranking, just the numbers, so, and then we're going to go film by film and discuss why we rank the movie where we rank it. So Jude, how about you kick us off? How do you rank Gale Weathers from best to worst? Just the numbers.
So we have 2, 4, 3, 5, 1, 6.
Okay. I mean, it's actually pretty close to mine. So mine would be 2, 4, 5, 3, 1, 6. And honestly, I'm at a place now where when I watch Scream 3 and I watch Gale in Scream 3, I think that she's so phenomenal. But at the same time, I love Gale in Scream 5. I love the emotional arc that she has, and I think Courtney is just so good, despite all of this, the flaws that we could point out in terms of the way they sold the movie and not really making the trio as important as they should be. I don't know, but it's so funny. You and I almost have the exact same ranking. So
maybe this is why we agree so much on things. I feel like I can, we connect like this.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk. Let's just start with So since we both since we have pretty much the same ranking, let's just do this in order from bottom to top. So Scream 6, we've already kind of alluded to that she has the best scene in the movie, but the writing of Gale is so flawed, and it's not only just the fact that they give her such little screen time. It's that the screen time that we're given is it's not well developed, it's not well written, it's not well defined. It's like Swiss cheese. They took very cheap routes to convey things about Gale. I feel like they didn't treat Gale with the respect that she deserved to be treated with, in the delicacy and the dimensions that she had in the other movies. They treated her just like the stock character from a stupid sitcom, where it's just she's always the same person. Like, they didn't respect her grief. They didn't respect the arc from 5. They gave her a great scene. I'm not, again, the scene is wonderfully choreographed. It's intense. Courtney is phenomenal, and Courtney tries, I think, with the material material, but I feel like at every turn they go out of their way to make Gale not important, to make her small, and to reduce her size in the movie. And this is on top of just bad writing, like the bad dialogue, bad choices, not really telling us much about her personal life, her how she's grieving Dewey, who this other guy is that she's dating, her, as Jude alluded to.
His name was never mentioned in the movie.
Yeah, like, we don't even have a name for him. I mean, technically, we know it's Brooks, but like
we do.
It was, yeah. It just, I feel like Scream 6 undermines Gale's evolution from 1 to 5, and just treats her like she's not even a human. They treat her like she's a two-dimensional, punchline. I don't know. Jude, what are your thoughts?
So first of all, I'm gonna get the elephant out of the room. Gale Weathers probably up there with Sidney Prescott as the best final girl in horror history. In my opinion, Gale had the best character arc, even more than Sidney Prescott herself. In my opinion, I think her changing or shifting from this bitchy, self-absorbed field reporter to being this complex grown woman is so good to see on screen. I mean, we saw her grow on screen in front of our eyes. We're going to get to Scream 2. I think this is peak Gale Weathers, but let's stay in 6. I might not agree with you on the screen time thing. I have an issue with screen time.
Oh, no, I do too. I mean, she should be, honestly, Gale should have been the second most screen time in Scream 6. It should have, the way that Scream 2 is Sydney as the most, Gale is the second most, that should have been Sam and Gale in Scream 6. It is effing bullshit that she did not that she only has like 12 minutes of screen time. It should have been doubled that for where they left her in Scream 5 and the location and just all the everything at work. It should have been that way. F that for the screen time. So sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So I don't blame Courtney for that. I mean,
no.
She's willing to come back. I think she's doing this for the fans. Come on. She doesn't need the money and she doesn't need fame. As some people are saying on Twitter, like they are quoting Tara Carpenter, without Ghostface in your life, you're going to fade away. Oh, come on. This is Courtney Cox. Courtney Cox doesn't need Scream. I'm sorry, but she doesn't need it. She's one of the 6 friends. I mean, she is iconic and she doesn't need it. She's doing it for us Scream fans. And if the actress still rocks, she still slays, and she's willing to come back, please use her to her full potential, or else don't bring her back. I mean, first of all, Gale was, as you said, she was treated like a cheap soap opera, soap opera, not even a sitcom, soap opera actress who like came back for a glorified cameo. Even Scream 6 tricked us with the trailer. If you rewatch the trailer, you see the most people were we got like 2 glances of Kirby only, and I think, in my opinion, Kirby was more prominent. I know screen time wise, Gale has more, like 9.
Technically, yeah.
But if you watch the movie, like Kirby was sprinkled around the movie more than Gale, and she was part of the finale, which I'm so glad she is. But in my opinion, a few more scenes with Gale in 6 would have fixed everything. First of all, we should have got introduced to Gale the night after Samara Weaving was attacked, before the frat party scene. We should have seen,
I agree,
in her studio doing something, bossing people around as she does. And maybe we got a glance of Brooks. Maybe he's helping her backstage. I don't know. And then another scene we did all the good work, the investigative work she did to find the shrine was done off screen. Why did you do that? I hate that. What are your thoughts on this?
I agree. The investigation is something that's so important to Scream, and so, here's what the other people would say, the people who disagree with us. They would say, oh, well, Scream 6 is pushing the boundaries of what Scream should be. It's redefining Scream. No, it's not. It's pretending to do that, but it's just doing lazy shit in place of it. Like the investigation and trying to piece who the killer is and like the clues, especially because Scream 6 tries to emphasize this backstory with dropping the masks. Like that is something that Gale Weathers would be all over, that she would love to investigate. And they robbed us of that. They robbed us of her being useful to the investigation. They robbed us of her emotional grieving and where she is emotionally post Dewey. Like we don't really even know. We can assume things, but we can infer, but we don't actually know how Gale is actually even feeling. So, we were robbed. We were so robbed, and for stupid reasons, I think. And but regardless, like, she has a good scene, but it's, I don't think that the material gives her the emotional or character bandwidth to actually do as good as Courteney Cox is able to do. Imagine this big scene after, after a full movie of a great storyline for Gale. Then Scream 6 would probably be her best ever, right? But instead, all we get is, this scene and a couple of glimpses in the shrine, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have 3 more things to say about Gale and 6. Is that an issue? Okay.
Go for it.
So first of all, I want your thoughts on something. I always said it. I was literally at the theater watching Scream 6, and they said Gale should have been with Kirby and Bailey at the investigation. The board, that stuff. Gale should have been there. Even we had like a few glances of Gale and Kirby like clashing or like doing stuff to each other. We could have got more. We were robbed of that. And second of all, they took everything. They gave her one thing in this movie pretty much. It was like discovering the shrine. And in the third act, Detective Bailey himself said, we were going to reveal it anyway, but Gale did it before us. So it wasn't something that they gave her one thing to do, and even they took it away from her at the end.
Yeah,
I think
they did.
Yeah. And I think if they would have kept it like this, it would have been fixed with few more scenes. Scene at the end, I would have loved if she had the knife and she was doing this. If Ghostface stabbed her with the glass shard and she stabbed him, like imagine Sam and the ambulance and police arriving at the scene and both of them are bleeding out. She got attacked and she went to the hospital. She's not in the third act, but at least she took him out.
Yeah.
It would have been powerful, or unmasked him maybe.
Yeah. I think that and that's where Scream 6, it pretends that it's doing something so cool and so innovative and pushing the boundaries of what a Scream movie is, but not really. Like, it's just doing that on the surface. Like, so again, like there's a lot of missed opportunities with her. I think there's a lot of waste in Scream 6. There's a lot of missed potential with Gale in Scream 6. So that's the reason why it ranks low, even if it is an amazing scene. And I think it's universally an amazing scene. I think everybody agrees with that. But I also think that everybody agrees the writing did her so bad outside of that scene. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
So, next, we both rank Scream 1 in 5th place, which I was surprised by for you. I thought you would rank it higher. For me, it's really, I love her in this. I love her in Scream 1. But for me, and she is a scene stealer. Like, every scene that she's in, I always, whenever I'm watching Scream 1, I always pause and actually like sit up and watch what she's doing, because it's just like, it's something very special, because she's very supporting in Scream 1. She's not driving like she does in the sequels. So she steals every scene that she's in. She's intense. It's also a performance that pushes the boundaries of what Courteney Cox and her persona are, mean to the pop culture, which I think is important. So she's fantastic, and challenging and like iconic. Like, every scene is so special of Gale. Like, even like, I know it's so cliche, but like the scene with the gun at the end, like that, the imagery of that, what Gale says, it hits so hard because she is a supporting role. She's not the lead. She's not the final girl like you described, equal to Sydney. So it's just something. It's a very special, stellar performance as in a supporting role, I think. But at the end of the day, why I rank it lower than the others is I think that Gale is just a bit less defined here than she is in the sequels. She's a bit more generic than she is in 2 and 3 and 4. I feel like so intimately tied to her in those movies that I don't feel as much here. So that's the only reason that it's lower. But I love Gale in Scream 1. She would be in like the top 3 best performances of Scream 1 in my opinion. So Jude, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I might agree with you on this. Basically, the reason why it ranks so low, there's no bad Scream movie, but the reason why it ranks this low, I think it's because of the screen time and her involvement in the story. So when I first watched Scream, I thought, Courteney Cox, she's going to be the star of the movie. And I was not familiar who Neve Campbell was back then. And I was watching it with my father, and I was like, where the hell is Courteney Cox? Why isn't she the lead? Who is this new girl? So yeah, I think she's not as complex as in the sequel, like you said. She's there. Her performance is top tier, but I think, yes, maybe the screen time doesn't do her justice. I think she's not as involved in the story like Skeet, Matthew, and even Jamie Kennedy. So yeah, maybe that's why.
No, I think it's just, yeah, I think that you said the right word, complex. And that's the one thing about Gale Weathers that I think people, for Guy and Jamie to write her in such an uncomplex way in Scream 6 made me realize, oh, they don't understand her at all.
They
Like,
don't. No.
because she is so complex, and she's complex in Scream 1. You know, she's playing the bitch who, right? And Courtney, it's so funny. I don't know if you've noticed. I'm sure you have. Like in the older interviews, Courtney used to love to say that Gale was a bitch, and
Yeah.
in Scream 5, she wanted to be PC, so she's a nasty girl, and I've always thought that was funny. But you know, she's playing the bitch who is actually right and actually saves the day, and who has a heart of gold, right? And so that is what Gale is in Scream 1. It's just a little less complex than Gale Weathers in Scream 2 and 3 and 4, in my opinion, who has the history, and she's becoming a better person through her interactions with Sydney and Dewey. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
I think earlier this year I was watching it with a friend of mine the first time, and basically that's something I'll never forget about Gale. He said she's basically driving the plot. She's like the connective tissue between all the movies, and it clicked with me. I mean, first of all, she's the only one who's been in all 6 movies, soon to be 7. And second of all, I mean, she's so underrated, and I hate that. Like everybody mentioned, I love Sydney. I mean, she's the best, the ultimate final girl, but everybody forgets about Gale. And it's so important because she's not the target of the Ghostface, like the main target of Ghostface. But if you think about it, she's the one who started it all. If she didn't write this book, this wouldn't exist. And if this wouldn't exist, all of the movies wouldn't exist. I mean, she's the one, she's the villain of the Scream franchise.
Well, and that makes a point. So like if Gale, there's a conversation, does Gale ever die? And I don't want her to die, of course, but I think that if they're going to make a trilogy this time, with Scream 7 being chapter 1, 8 as 2, and then 9 as the final, I wouldn't be opposed. And if they're going to stop at Scream 9 and just let this rest for a while, I wouldn't be opposed to Gale dying at the end of 9, just as like a symbolic nature of like, it's over, this really is, we're coming to a close here. I don't want her to die, but that's like the one instance where I would be okay with it. What are your thoughts?
No, Gale can touch.
Never.
I'll touch her. I swear, when I saw 6, I was 99.9% sure she wasn't gonna die. They're not gonna kill her in 6. But the fake out thing, I started crying. I cried. I thought they did it, and I started screaming, "Fuckers! I'm leaving the theater." And then said, "We have a weak pulse." I was like, "Okay, we're good. Calm down." But yes, no, they can't touch her. No.
So let's move on now to let's do Scream 5. So again, I rank Scream 5 a bit higher. So we're on 4th place, right? Okay, Jude has 5 in 4th place. I have 5 in 3rd. So we're gonna do 5 first. So in terms of Scream 5, I just want to underline how much whenever I left the theater whenever I watched Scream 5, I was so blown away by Courteney Cox. I was blown away by just the first time we see her and we just see her hair and she's walking in the red suit. I was the emotion that she has in the scene with Dewey, the emotion as she's grieving him, the arc that she gets to avenge his death, and kill Amber and just attack her in the kitchen and confront her, and where she ends, in terms of finding peace and not being it's not a perfect fix. Like she's still grieving Dewey, but there's some peace at the end of Scream 5 for her. It's a full arc, from beginning to end. It feels like they stuffed a full Sydney, a lead actress main character arc, into a 10 minutes of screen time. And Courtney really delivers in a way that I think a lot of people maybe didn't think that she was able to do. Like she has such dramatic control over this material, in a way that really made me obsessed with her and reignited my love for Gale Weathers in such a big way. Like it was almost shocking how much I thought Gale was the MVP of Scream 5, and that I still do. It's stunning. I think she's, I don't know. I don't want to say I'm biased towards Gale because I love Gale and Sydney equally, and I am open-minded. I just genuinely don't see how anyone can pick somebody else as the MVP of Scream 5. Maybe Dewey, but I think Gale is so good in Scream 5. Jude, what are your thoughts?
I totally agree with you. I think Gale was the strongest one of the trio, even though Dewey died in this movie. It was we're not going to get into that, but I'm not a fan of how he was taken out. I'm not opposed to the idea of killing him, but the way they killed him was so stupid. I'm not going to get into that right now. It's another debate, but yeah, Gale was the strongest element of 5. Her scenes with the very limited material she has, like everything she did, her scenes, her fighting in the finale. I would have loved if Gale wasn't shot. I know they wanted Sidney Prescott to go by herself to have all the shots that they made in the trailer to show us, oh, Sidney's back, to promote the movie as if it's the return of Sidney Prescott, which is not, but this is the return of Sidney Prescott. I kind of wish went side by side to get holding guns. They separated ways, and then, yeah, it would have been better. We've got no chases in 5 as well. That's something I don't like. And I think Gale was limited. She was sidelined, and we didn't get to see her actually, like, you know the numbers, like 50 minutes in, 55 minutes in.
It was like 52 when she came in. Yeah.
No, I don't like that. Why would you have to put her so late? No, I was not a fan of the inclusion of the legacy characters in 5. Maybe that's why it ranks least on my list. And I don't think she had a great arc. Courtney was phenomenal in this movie, but it didn't feel like Gale, actually. I don't know why. Even Courtney said it in an interview. Gale this time didn't feel like Gale.
Well, I think that would have been resolved if, Gale, because she's not in the first 50 minutes, right? She does not get any opportunity to develop a personality.
Yeah.
Whenever she arrives, it's like, bam, she's fully 100% emotional because of, this really, literally her first scene is a scene with Dewey where they cry for 2 minutes straight, and then he dies, and then it's just grief, so she doesn't really have the opportunity to develop Gale's personality and what Gale is like all these years later. So I hope that Scream 7 gives us that, because what they tried to do in Scream 6, they don't give her that opportunity in Scream 6 either. So I think for Scream 7, a mandate is to give Courtney the opportunity to develop Gale as a personality before putting her in dramatic situations. And the hard thing for Courtney, and I think she does it well, but still, I get what you're saying, she didn't have the opportunity to define who Gale was outside of the dramatic situations that she was in 5.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to talk about what I wanted 7. I'm going to leave it to after we finish the ranking, but I think we needed a few more scenes with Dewey before he died, actually. This they had was, I think, one of the best emotional scenes in the entire franchise. Both Courtney and David were on top of their game. Their performance, they stole the show, but we deserve to see more of Gale and Dewey together. Or maybe her bickering with Judy a bit. Come on, Judy died and she didn't have single scene with Gale. That's a missed opportunity. Maybe I kind of wish she crossed paths with Sam before she actually met her. They literally have nothing to do in 5 together. And it's so, they have little tidbits, but it's nothing. So no,
I agree. I think that again, imagine how, I love Scream 5 for what it is, but I understand, imagine how much different of a movie it could have been if the trio would have been introduced early on in the movie and developed along with the new characters, and you would have formed some more natural, setup. So, but all right. So I have, and you're kind of like convincing me to rank Scream 5 lower now because you're making good points. But so next up in our ranking is Scream 3. So Scream 3 is a very complex one when it comes to Gale Weathers, because a lot of people point and say that this doesn't feel like Gale, which I find really annoying and mean. People say that she's too comedic, and that it doesn't feel like the Gale from 1 and 2. Well, no shit, it doesn't feel like the Gale from 1 and 2. Literally the point of Scream 2 was Gale going from bad to good. And I think with Scream 3, we see that the Gale in Scream 3 is the person who evolved over Scream 2, and plus she's in Hollywood, so it's like the Hollywoodification of Gale Weathers. So she's different. Plus, she's lonely. There's a lot of things going on, but I think that the Gale in Scream 3 actually makes complete and total sense as the evolution of Gale from 1 to 2 to the end of 2 to 3. So who Gale is in Scream 3 is who she always was, and in my opinion, going forth, the reason I think Courtney is so good in Scream 3, And at times, like, so I'll be watching Scream 3 and I'm thinking, oh wow, Gale is really at her best here, but she's not. I mean, she's better in 2 and 4, right? But she's such a strong backbone of Scream 3. You know, Sydney is dealing with the dramatic emotion. Parker Posey's doing the comedic emotion, and Courtney is the one in the middle doing the Maureen Prescott backstory, keeping the movie in line as we're going through such a crazy multi-layered plot. And I think that's really underrated. You know, there are very tough scenes that Courtney has to do here. Like, for instance, the scene where she goes to Jennifer's house and she has to fill Dewey in on what's going on with Maureen and how there are 2 years of her life that are missing. Those scenes are hard to do when an actor has to catch up the audience, and Courtney nails it. You know, plus the other thing that really makes her special in Scream 3 is the dynamic with Parker Posey. Again, it's just pushing forward. You know, it's allowing Gale to, you know, see her, a version of herself from the past, seeing literally her in with, you know, the hair and the green suit from Scream 1 and just how much she's changed. You know, I think that's really important for Gale's character arc on top of just how entertaining they are together. So, Jude, what are your thoughts on Gale and Scream 3?
Okay, so first of all, I think Scream 3 is the best Sydney movie. So just to say that, it's the strongest Sydney. But due to Nev Campbell's scheduling issues and stuff, I think it was Dewey and Gale's story, if you think about it. They were the ones carrying the story, I think, driving the movie on their backs. And then Sydney comes in the third act and she just takes over. And this is something, a criticism. I loved Scream 3's final act. I think it's my second favorite after Scream 4. The Sydney versus Roman is epic. But I would have loved Gale and Dewey, like, they were carrying the whole movie and then they took a back seat in the finale. I would have loved if they were with Sydney in the finale.
So here's how I see it. I see it as like Gale and Sydney and Dewey are all equal in Scream 3. Like, they all three to have earned the right to be leads. And, you know, there's a lot going on in Scream 3. You know, there's, Sydney doing her own storyline, Gale, who is driving the Maureen Prescott storyline, and Dewey, who's kind of like driving the Stab 3 storyline. Like, he's the one who's kind of involved with the actors, and they all intersect and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a wash. I think they're all about equal. But Gale and Dewey kind of get their finale with the Stab 3 actors before Sydney arrives. So I don't feel like robbed of anything. I think that, like, the way that it all works out to how it should be. But again, I just think that, you know, Scream 3 gives Gale and Dewey the opportunity to be awesome versions of themselves. And I think it's Dewey's best, in my opinion. Spoiler alert for the Dewey episode. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it just changed my mind here when you said in their finale with that 3 cast. I mean, I've never thought of it from this perspective. And yeah, no, I mean it. If you think about it, Sydney wasn't present during all of this. I mean, they were doing all the fighting, the chasing, and everything. Mm-hmm. So even though we got a call, even if it was Sydney's voice, but actually it was Ghostface. So yeah, no, you win, my boy.
Woohoo. Well, you know, and I just have to say, you know, again, like, it doesn't, because Gale doesn't have the opportunities that she does in 2 and 4 here in Scream 3 in terms of being like over the top. Like, I actually don't think it's a very over the top performance from Courtney. I think it's actually a very subtle performance that, again, she grounds the movie, you know, while really crazy stuff is happening in terms of the emotions. Like I said, so much drama coming from Nev, comedy coming from Parker. You know, there's a lot of storylines going on, and Courtney is kind of like the thing that centers the movie.
She was the backbone of the movie. Yeah.
Anything else you want to share about Gale and Scream 3?
Yes, I actually loved the scene where the Carrie Fisher cameo. I love the scene. Everybody says that Scream 3 is very comedic. I might agree to an extent, but I don't think so. You know, when I first saw Scream 3 and Jennifer and Gale were going down the basement, this scene is very creepy. Even the set pieces are creepy in Scream 3. You think about the replica of Sydney's and Stu's house. This chase around the soundstage is amazing, and it's very terrifying. And no. In my opinion, Gale is, oh my God, I might put it above 4. Did you just change my ranking, Rain Shower?
Oh my God, I hope not, because we haven't got to 4 yet. So how about this? How about at the end we'll say, like, if our ranking has changed? So at the end, but No,
Yeah.
I love what you're saying about like how powerful 3 is. One thing I wanted to say to you and see what your thoughts were about 3. An underrated part of Scream 3 and Gale is she actually gets some really quiet moments of character development. Like for instance, the talk that she and Dewey have at the coffee shop, that's very good dramatic acting. That's not really comedic. That's really good stuff. In addition, her reactions to listening to Dewey talk about her at the window at Jennifer's house, that again, where we get really deep into Gale's character development and who she is at her core, and deeper probably than in any other movie. So it's very cool that Scream 3 goes there, even if Gale sometimes takes a back seat to both Sydney and Jennifer in terms of who is the MVP.
I think Gale is the MVP.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think I even love when Sydney comes to the police station and they're like, do we hug, do we not? I love this moment between them. I think this is a good character development moment for both of them. So I think it's really amazing. Good character work for both of them.
Yeah.
So I remember watching it for the first time and I was like, oh my God, they hugged. So they're not enemies anymore. So I love this moment. I haven't seen Scream 3 in a while now. I should give it a rewatch.
Well, you're on with Ryan C. Showers today, so I feel like it is only destiny that Scream 3 is in your immediate future.
No, to be fair, I saw some clips of the third act when they first announced that Scott Foley's back. And it was like, Dad, Scott Foley, Roman from Scream. My dad was like, who the hell is Roman? I was like, Sydney's brother. And he said, maybe they resurrected him. We couldn't care less. And I was like, I'm going to watch it again. We'll talk about that later, but yeah, I need to watch the whole movie.
All right, so let's move on now to Scream 4. We both have it ranked second place. I saw Scream 4 in theaters. And, so it's funny, the way that the Scream fandom is just so different than it used to be. I really thought that one of the trio was going to die in Scream 4 leading up to it. And I thought it would be Gale. And I was so sad about it leading up to Scream 4. I was just depressed I remember I was in high school and I remember going to classes and I was moping around just because I thought Gale was going to die. And thankfully she didn't. But, the one thing about Gale in Scream 4 is again, I always thought from the first viewing of Scream 4, I remember sitting in the theater thinking, this is Courteney Cox's movie. She is running the show. She is the MVP. She sticks out the biggest. It is I actually think Gale's more comedic in 4 than she is in 3.
Agreed.
But it's good comedic. It's gold comedic. She is a comedic tour de force she is like a powerhouse of comedy in Scream 4. And like you kind of alluded to before about another movie, she drives the first half of this movie. She is the energy source of the movie. I think nobody brings more energy to the movie than Courteney Cox, except for Emma Roberts after she's revealed. But Courteney Cox is like, it is such a great outing for Gale that fits in line with 1, 2, 3, and 4, while also exploring, what's next for Gale. She's evolved, but also she's bored and she's also developed a career. And I think that it just gives Gale, it's like the perfect execution of where Gale Weathers was at that point in her life. So Jude, what are your thoughts on Gale and Scream 4, your favorite movie?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Actually, before hopping on the podcast, I watched Scream 4. So I was Scream 4 last night. And, a Gale specific moment that I haven't stopped at. So I watched it 3 times. It's the scene when she's walking into the bookshop and she's like looking at Sydney. She loves her, but at the same time she's jealous. Like, it should be me. I love this. I haven't stopped before to actually see it. Her eyes, Courtney's acting, of course, you'll get distracted by the filter, which I love, by the way. But I think it's a great character moment for Gale. Even her banter with Rebecca, with Judy, your lemon's great. Hence, I love this moment. And it just makes sense. I mean, even though Scream 4 in some ways make me dislike Dewey a bit. I mean, he was kind of bitchy for Gale. I mean, you can't do anything. I understand, man. You're with the cops. You're a sheriff now. But she knows her shit. Gale knows her shit. Maybe even better than you. Yeah, you do. Even you happen to have the uniform and she doesn't, but she knows her stuff.
Well, so I want to respond here about the coffee house. I love that moment. I love the music because that's actually like old original trilogy score. The music as she's walking in, and Sydney's reading, and it's all on her. It's her reaction. It's such a beautiful moment by Wes. And again, like that little bit of jealousy, like that complex emotion of I love her, I'm jealous of her, I need to get my stuff back up and running. Gale looking at Sydney and seeing the failures of herself in that moment. Again, that is the complexity that I want from a Scream movie, a complexity that I don't think was there in the Radio Silence films.
No.
I love that. And, even just from like the very first scene that Gale has. So, I guess we first see her in bed, but then like the scene after where she's at the typewriter and we learn so much about Gale and where she is in her life in that 60-second long moment. It's funny, it's intentional, it sets her on her path. I think, in the first act, I think Gale she is like so far and away the best thing about it. Like, everything at the police station, she's so well defined in terms of, looking at Rebecca and again, seeing another young, energetic person who kind of points out she's past her prime or, there's just so much here that Gale does so good. And like, for instance, I love the Stabathon. Everyone talks about Scream 6. I think the Stabathon is also great. Like, I think that people have underrated the Stabathon because of Scream 6. And I don't want that. We should celebrate both.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, actually. I love, even the deleted scenes had many good Gale, by the way. Scream 4, I think, has the best writing for the legacy characters, in my opinion. I don't know why. Okay, maybe Scream 2, Gale was given more to do, but I think 4 was great. We got introduced to them very early on. You watch the movie, they're pretty much the main characters, even though we have a younger cast, but you're following the trio. You're not following. Okay, you see Jill in high school and stuff, but she's not the star. She's not the main character, in my opinion.
And that's how I think it should have been for 5. Like, in retrospect, like, I think to have made the best movie possible, I think that's how it should have been made. Again, I love Scream 5, but, at the same time, we wouldn't, but I guess at this point too, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in now where we're truly getting a Sydney and Gale centric movie in 7. So, but anything else you want to share about Scream 4?
Yeah, I want to say that I love that Scream 4 respected Gale Weathers, and actually she was not in Kirby's house. Even though she was sidelined at the hospitals, we were checking in on her constantly. And then she's the one who said, how did she know that I was too? She's the one who pieced the puzzle. That's one. And then 2, she actually did team up with Sydney to distract Jill and then for Sydney to do her thing. But she was a key player in the finale as well. So they didn't forget about her, even though she was at the hospital. We had a few hospital scenes with her. We saw her being stretched to the hospital. We saw so many things with Gale. They didn't forget about her like they did in 6. This is something I give to Kevin and Wes and for everyone who was involved with 4.
Yeah. No, and I think that is the clear difference between... I don't want to sound like a dick, but it's like the clear difference between what Radio Silence did and their priorities versus Wes Craven and his all-knowing priorities about the story. And like, yes, I agree with everything that you said. Like Gale, because it's the finale with Jill is a fake out, and that's kind of the point where what Wes is saying is don't fuck with the original. And we end not just with Sydney, but with Gale and Dewey as a unit. Right. And like, he knows how important she is. Even like just Wes showing Gale and Dewey at the hospital, that, if Radio Silence had just given me a scene with Gale and Sam, the same exact scene as Scream 4, with Sam holding her hand while she's going to the hospital, I would not bitch. I would not be a jerk, but they didn't. So you know what? They get what they deserve. But anyways, so.
Can we, for a moment, I want to say something, please. Can we? Yeah. So I remember I was watching it once with my friend and she was like, you know what? I'm thinking about it. Gale has nobody. She went to the hospital all by herself.
Yeah.
Sydney has, she pretty much has lost everyone, but now she has a family. Sam has Tara and Chad has Mindy, or vice versa. Gale has no one. And the fact that she went to the hospital all by herself, it kind of breaks my heart, by the way. I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
Yeah.
But again, like and that's something that should be apparent to us. Like, I wish that Sam would have said, I don't want Gale to wake up alone. I feel so bad. But also Mindy, she ditched Gale and ran to the theater. So literally Gale was really alone, right? So, and the filmmakers didn't think about this in the slightest bit. And it's sad. And but also I think that the silver lining is perhaps all of this trauma that Gale went through in Scream 6 that we didn't get to see, plus the Dewey death trauma. I hope that all of that gives us a great storyline and exploration of Gale Weathers in Scream 7.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in details. Yeah.
All right, Jude, Scream 2. Now, we both rank it first, and universally, I think Gale is the most in Scream 2. Like, this is what most people think of when they think of Gale Weathers. The attitude, there's so many different shades of Gale Weathers, and this is truly a character arc of triumph, in terms of writing, in terms of acting, the way that she's used in the story, and the change that Gale undergoes in Scream 2 cannot be praised more in terms of, like, the first time we see her, she is at the top of the world, and she only cares about herself and success. And it isn't until Dewey comes back into the picture, and then she starts questioning herself and her choices and the reality of the situation of all these people being murdered, and she's at the center of it in a way. And through the movie and through Randy dying, somebody who she survived once with, I think that is the turning point for her, where she starts to really reflect on where her priorities are in the current moment. And then, of course, being attacked and seeing what happens to Dewey in the sound booth, and being a target herself, I think really changes her and shapes her into a more understanding, humble, empathetic person. And that is the beauty of Gale in Scream 2. She also has the best look, the best attitude. Courtney's acting, again, is sensational throughout, pitch perfect at every moment, and the best Gale Weathers hair, in my opinion. So, Jude, what are your thoughts on Scream 2?
First of all, I think Scream 2 is Gale's story more than Sydney's. I think Gale is the strongest character, even though Sydney has more screen time. But I think we're watching the movie through Gale's lens, basically. So we followed her journey where she is right now. I think Wes and Kevin had a plan to have Courtney as a supporting character in one, but they had a long-term vision that we're going to bring her back into, and we're going to explore her character more. And this is what they did. Because think Scream 1 had so many characters, and then you have those survivors, and now you tell their story. And I think they did a phenomenal job with writing and doing Gale everything. They did her justice in this movie. She had the best moments in the entire franchise in this movie. Her best look, obviously, like you just said. And I love her, everything she did. The slap, when Sydney slapped her. I love when she's talking with Joel. I should have read your book before doing this job. I love this. And I even love that Scream 2 really establishes Gale as the final girl. She was a survivor in 1, but she was never a final girl, if you think about it, in 1. But in 2, actually, she is the center of everything. The Stab franchise, the book, movies imitating life, imitating art, everything. She is,
Well, can we just also, I want to back up what you just said, is Gale is, she's an equal target to Sydney in Scream 2, in my opinion. Mrs. Loomis isn't just going after Sydney for killing Billy. Gale killed Billy. Let's be real. Gale killed him, and that's why Mrs. Loomis stalks her the entire movie. There's a reason why Gale and Sydney, they feel more equal here, and then they feel very equal in Scream 3, even though, but it's because the motivation of Mrs. Loomis is as much about Gale as it is Sydney. You could say that maybe that Sydney's a bit deeper because of Maureen Prescott and the mother and cheating, right? But I think that, in terms of killing Billy, she's equally interested in getting revenge on Gale as Sydney, I think. And that's kind of like on top, like that's like the importance Gale gets from the screenplay. But also, in terms of the different shades of Gale, I have to say this is the most, like the writing of Gale here is the most focused I think it's ever been, and the most piercing. Like, I even just like the small moments of Gale, like where she's, a great moment for her, it's somewhat underrated, is like whenever she arrives at the Cece's death scene, she goes to Dewey, she tries to show him that she cares, and he brushes her off, so she puts on the mask again and kind of is mean to Joel. Don't fuck with me. That's an amazing moment for Courteney Cox.
Yes, and kudos to her acting, her range as the character. And I love two specific moments in Scream 2. What I love the most about Scream 2 is that we actually see Gale growing and developing on screen. It's not like we have a 10 years gap and then she developed during these 10 years. So we saw her. Yeah, like I love the moment where Debbie Salt, Mrs. Loomis asks her, what are your thoughts on this cop, Dewey Riley? And she said, Dewey's a good person, unlike some of us. The way she said, unlike some of us. I love this. And when she said, I want to find this fucker, and starts looking at the tapes, I love this moment with Gale. And if you think about it, actually, it makes sense that Gale and Sydney are separated throughout the movie because Sydney could not see Mrs. Loomis. So it makes sense they're not together, but we're following them equally, opposed to 6, where we're following Sam and Gale is sidelined, but we don't see her doing her job, her investigative things.
So whenever Gale says that, unlike some of us, I think she's talking about herself. And I think that's the beauty of that moment. And I think that the best scene of Gale Weathers ever is, in terms of her character development, is the scene, I feel bad, Dewey. I feel really bad. It's like her breaking point. It's her, her rawest, emotionally and most vulnerable to Dewey. It's her most beaten down. It's her at her like the wool has been pulled out from under her, and she's seeing things for how it really is, not just for what it could do for her career. And it's a wonderful scene. It's wonderfully performed by Courtney, and it just gets us into the third act so nicely. So I love this. I think that it's so clear and evident that like Scream 2 is Gale's movie and Scream 3 is Sydney's. And so that's again part of being like an original trilogy fan and a Wes Craven fan, I think is that fact. But so Jude, so what would you say your ranking is now that we've just gone through all 6 movies?
Yes, maybe now if you think of it, I think I would rank Scream 3 higher when I of those Gale moments that you just said. I think Gale. Yeah.
Go ahead. You go.
No.
You go first.
Okay, so if you think about it, Gale had more to do in 3 than in 4. So maybe I might switch these two.
I'm gonna actually go with your original ranking. So your original ranking was 2, 4, 3, 5, 1, 6. I can't believe 5 is falling for me right now, but it is. It's hard, because I'm really I'm in an up place with 3 and kind of a down place with 5. So yeah, I'm gonna go with your original ranking. And so you're saying you're gonna go with 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 6?
Yeah.
Okay. We're shifting around here, folks.
We are.
All right, Jude, just as a way to sign off, what would you like to see most from Gale in Scream 7?
First of all, I want to talk to you about something. I have a question for you. Who do you think is going to have the most screen time, the top 5 characters, and how much screen time they're going to have? Approximately.
I think Sydney, she's going to be first. Isabel May, second. Courtney third, and then after that, it probably the killers, whoever the killers are. So that to me is that feels right. It feels like a good mix of like 2 and 3. So I imagine Sydney, she's probably going to have about, I'm going to say 35 to 38 minutes. I think it'll be a little less than Scream 2. Yeah. And Gale, I'm hoping for 20. I really want 20. Realistically, she'll probably get about 16 to 18. I would like 18. I think 18 is good. A little more than 4, but because of Isabel May, it's going to be hard for Gale to really beat her, I think, just because of the mother-daughter dynamic. What do you think?
I'll be able to beat her, actually, to be fair. I don't think she's going to be able to do that. I'm sorry, that's power cut. Welcome to Lebanon. But you can still hear me, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I want to see, based on the leaks and set rumors we're having, these rumors pretty much are Gale centric, and I'm so amazed by that. First of all, we have the mental patient. We have the Robbie character that's Gale's rival pretty much. And of course, you're going to have Sydney and Gale team up at the end. Now, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How do you think we're going to get introduced to Gale? And is she going to be in the third act? So when and how we're going to be introduced to Gale?
I think that Gale is gonna. Okay, so I'm gonna actually go a little farther. I think Sydney will be the first scene after the opening, and then it'll go Sydney, Isabel May, and then I think Gale's gonna be like in there. I think we're gonna see Gale around the 20-minute mark, like we did in Scream 2 and Scream 3. I think that's how it's gonna flow.
Amen.
And I actually think that we're going to see a lot of Sydney and Gale together in Scream 7. I think that it's going to be like their dynamic in Scream 5, but deeper and more important. I think that Mark is going to die. So I think Gale is going to be really important to Sydney here. She's going to comfort her in a deep way. And I think that absolutely Gale will be in the finale, just like she was in the first 5 movies until Radio Silence dropped the fucking ball in Scream 6. So how about you, Jude?
In 7. What are your thoughts? You don't want it, but are they going to do it?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So
I think Courtney. I think Courtney. She loves being in this franchise. She wants to be in it, and I think that she's going to want to continue on for however long they're making them.
Yeah, I feel like Courtney has been so excited about Scream. I don't know if you follow Courtney, who she follows. She's been following so many. She's interacting pretty much with all of her fans. She follows their accounts. She likes, comments, and replies to all of them, and I love that for her. And I feel like Gale it's like Gale's year. After 6, Gale has gotten so much more appreciation in the fandom, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is now talking about Gale and how underrated she is. I mean, thanks to you. You started it all, pretty much. But yeah, I feel Courtney is very excited to do this. And about the mental patient thing, do you think we're going to get it in the middle of the movie? Or what's going to drive Gale to be driving fast? And what do you think? I want to hear your thoughts.
I don't know if I believe the mental patient thing. I'm not sold on it. I think that it could be rumor. I think it could be made up. I don't know. But let's just say it's real. I bet it's going to happen in the first act. I think that you can't do this in the second act. I think that Gale, I think that we're going to see her in her studio in New York as her first scene, seeing her react to everything. And then
you think she's going to be in New York when the movie opens?
I do. I think she'll be in she'll be in New York, and then whenever she's coming to be with Sydney, like I don't think that Mark will have died whenever Gale decides to come to Sydney. I think that I think she'll be on her way, and then if it happens, it's going to happen like in maybe the 30-40 minute mark before Mark Evans dies. I think that's how it's going to go if it's true.
Yeah, and what do you think about the twins? They come from New York. Do you think they come with Gale? Are they going to have scenes with Gale and Sydney, or with the new cast? Tell me your thoughts.
I think that they're going to have scenes. I think that I hope that all of the characters are integrated in a nice way and they all get screen time with each other that's not forced. But I think that the twins will be with Gale a lot in Scream 7.
I think we have group scenes and everyone gets developed. I love group scenes, by the way, where you see everyone all together. Mm-hmm. Speaking of the twins, do you think one of the twins is going to die?
I do.
Who? What's your guess?
Mindy.
When?
End of Act 2, beginning of Act 3. How about you?
I think Mindy's going to die, not Chad. So I'm with you on that. I think she's a goner, definitely. And do you think that Sydney and Gale, if they make a Scream 8, are going to be the focus like they are in 7, or are they going to take a backseat again?
No, of course they're going to be the focus. I think that Kevin is not fucking around anymore. I think that they will continue to be the focus. I think that's the way that it should be. And it all just depends. We don't even know, who's to say that Isabel May even survives? Maybe she dies in the finale. Who knows?
If they want to support our expectations, we're going in, we're expecting it's Sydney's daughter. Come on, she's going to live. Imagine if Mark survived for one split second. Imagine if Mark survives and Tatum dies. Yeah. I would love that, to be honest. Maybe it's twisted because who wants Sydney's daughter to die? But imagine how much they could explore with Sydney in 8 and her daughter. I think it would be very. What are they gonna do in 8 with her daughter? Take her to college for the third
Yeah.
time? But we have Scream 6 is not a college setting, but what are we gonna do with her if you think about it?
So, I mean, I think that the possibilities are open, but I think that Courtney and Nev will not be under. I do not think that they will be sidelined again in their franchise. I think Nev is going to be the main character for the duration, and I think Courtney, no matter what, is going to have real significance and real screen time as long as she wants to. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, and I really love what you said. So I think we're on the same page on that. Yeah.
Awesome.
So these are all my questions. What do you want to say?
Jude, thank you so much for this episode, this wonderful episode about Gale Weathers. I've loved the conversation. You're so fun. You're such a fun, bubbly person. I had such a wonderful time with you. So thank you for being on my show, and thank you for being my friend.
First of all, thank you. Thank you for giving me this amazing opportunity to be here. You have no idea how much this means to me. And I hope it's not the last time. And I hope
Never.
I'm going to come back one day. I always come back. And I want to thank you for being an amazing friend. I swear I trust you with my life, even though we've never met. And it's on my bucket list. And when I go back to the States, you're the first person I'm visiting. I
Oh my
swear.
God.
Because
Oh
I
my-
want you're such an amazing person. And you're literally the MVP of the Scream Twitter. Like I'm sorry, but you're that bitch.
What a way to end the Gale Weathers episode other than saying I am that bitch. But
You're
wow,
that-
my heart is on fire.
No. I mean every single word I said, Ryan. And whoever doesn't like you, well, they have bad taste and people not gonna lie. So
Love it. And so Jude, you are the best. And just for I'm just gonna put you on the spot and no explanation, just curious, what is your Sydney ranking and your Dewey ranking?
So Sydney ranking.
Mhm.
Sydney. I'm gonna start with Dewey. I think it's easier.
Okay.
So Dewey, from best to worst.
Mhm.
Okay. So Dewey, 3, 5, 2, 4, 1.
Okay.
Sydney, 3, 4, 1, 2, 5.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that is fun. And I just wanted to ask you because this is a part of a series of episodes. So there will be a Sydney episode and a Dewey episode. And I think I'm going to give everybody who's on those episodes the opportunity to say their rankings for the other people too. So everybody, thank you so much. Thank you to Jude. Thank you to Gale Weathers. Thank you to Courtney Cox. Thank you to Wes Craven. Thank you to Kevin Williamson. Thank you to Radio Silence. But thank you for the legacy that is Gale Weathers. She is that bitch. So where can they find you online?
So you can find me. I have a private Instagram, so I don't accept everybody. So you can find me on Twitter. It's Jude. Actually, I don't pronounce my word Jude. I say Jude. So it's Jude_Jarjura. You can find me on Twitter.
Follow him. He's great. I love his tweets. I love his content. He makes cool AI as well. So everybody follow Jude.
You're wondering why I have an accent. It's because I'm half American, half Lebanese. That's why my English isn't perfect. So yeah.
Your English is pretty damn good. So everybody, thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time.
Scream with Ryan C. Showers is made possible by supporters like you. All copyrighted material used or referenced in this show belong to their rightful owners and made possible by the Fair Use Act.
And number 3, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
Get another beer. You want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back.